Hey designers, happy Thursday. I'm Adam Ruf. I'm a product designer at AngelList and creator of UX Design Contest. And I believe that design is a skill like any other that you can develop and get better at through practice. And so tonight, I'm really excited to finish up this final stream in support of UX Design Contest number 13. Which will focus on the case study portion. So we'll pick up where I left off last week, getting a Usability Hub test going to test my design. So now I've got results. And tonight we will finish putting that together into a case study. So super excited to have you with me tonight, whether you're tuning in for the first time, you're coming back, or maybe you're tuning in after this was recorded. Quick context for those of you who are joining for the first time and are thinking, I don't know what this contest thing he's talking about. What's going on here? Let me post the link in chat for you, first of all. And by the way, questions are always welcome. Minaka, I hope I'm saying that your name correctly. Hi from Singapore. It's 9 a.m. Oh man, I visited Singapore for the first time last year and I loved it. I'm looking forward to going back and doing more travel stuff after we get the coronavirus under control. I think we need some vaccines to really be safe and help keep people safe. Thank you. Thanks for saying hey. Appreciate it. It's always fun to see where people are tuning in from. And we've got Gary in London. Oh, 2 a.m. Oh my goodness, Gary. I don't know if you're starting your day early or staying up late, but hope you're doing well. Thanks for the shout out from London. Awesome. All right, so as I was saying, this contest, I started it because I saw I was getting a lot of designers asking me for like portfolio reviews and different help on how they can set themselves up for a career as a UX or product designer. And for me, the biggest thing that portfolios were lacking in general were just, a wealth of examples of doing the work, right? I think that's basically how you do it. It's great that UX and product design has such a low barrier to entry, right? There are many free tools you can use. There's information on the web. It's very low barrier to entry, but it does require like doing the work, and that's also how we get better, right? Hey Khan, is this only streaming from YouTube? Oh, you're up in Berkeley. Well, all right, we got someone local in the area. Yes, I'm currently only streaming from YouTube right now. Thanks for joining. And so this contest that we're currently working on, I was trying to think about something COVID related, but I didn't want it to be necessarily like health or medical supplies. I feel like people are already investing and solving those kinds of problems. I was trying to think of something a little bit closer to home. And I don't know about you, but for me, the food delivery app experiences have been super important. Since COVID started. Like, it helps me be able to shelter at home when I know that I can get groceries or food from a restaurant and can stay well nourished. So that's what the contest is about. It's all about improving a food delivery app experience. And I'm trying to think of what's the best way we'll go in. Maybe I'll show the case study so far. Well, I can pop over to DoorDash, I guess, a little bit. So I picked DoorDash. It's by market share, it's the largest like restaurant food delivery app in the United States. So that's always, something to consider is when you are thinking about making an impact. Like, obviously I don't work at DoorDash. I work at AngelList, so I don't actually have the ability to like get into their code and make any changes. But I can certainly share this information with them and they might be interested to consider it. But the larger market share you're targeting, the greater potential impact you have when you improve the experience. OTP is currently writing a case study. Awesome. All right. So DoorDash is the place. I basically just found this burger meal thing. It's kind of a fun path. You can check out last week's. The last 2 streams on my YouTube channel will have more about this process. Like how did you get here? If you're interested in finding that out. I'm trying to find the specific thing that I was looking for. Let's just go to the case study. We'll see it. We'll see it all in the case study. So just a heads up, the case study I'm building in Notion. So I'm going to put the Notion tool here. For me, this is like part of why I'm able to work on this case study maybe as quickly and efficiently as I've been able to, is because I'm using this tool that I think is super fun. I started using it at work at AngelList, and then I really got hooked on it, so I've been using it more and more for personal things. I know actually where we should start. We'll start picking up directly from the research. I'll just show the test that I did, briefly cover the results, and then we'll dive into the actual case study. I think that's gonna be a good flow. So I'll show you the test. So I'll get an incognito tab open and I'll show you what the test I ran was, so you can see exactly what was going on. So here's the test. I used a tool called Usability Hub. Usabilityhub.com. Oh, it doesn't link it. If I don't put the... Okay, hopefully I typed that correctly. There we go. This is what the people saw who participated in the test. And I just blasted this test out on Twitter. So I hope I'm assuming that mostly like designers and folks interested in design were the ones who participated in this. So, which design would you rather use to order a customized burger? That was my question. And then these are the 2 images they saw. And by the way, depending on the participant, they may have seen this one on the left over on the right, or this one on the right over on the left. They'll actually alternate the image placement, which helps reduce bias, which is great. So you can see, I mean, the participants didn't know, but I know. On the left here, this is the current design, which has these different screens that you have to dive into and come out of. So on the initial screen, you can't actually see the customization options. You have to go and look into it. And then there's a bunch of weird things that I'll talk about later. And then there's my kind of proposed design, which has a bunch of changes. The most noticeable, well, besides adding the photo, right? The most noticeable thing is I've eliminated the need for any other screens. So it's just all in one screen. All of the options are up front. And there's no way to miss anything, because unlike another pattern where they have this kind of sticky footer, right? There's a sticky footer. So you could potentially just see this and just click on add to cart, right? And you've missed, all of these other screens. My design, by comparison, forces a user to, see everything, see all their options before going through and adding something to the cart. So that was the test. What about the results? Oh, I remember a question that someone asked me about the Usability Hub test. They said, how many participants are enough? And my recommendation was 10. Like, you want at least 10 people, because then you can start to get more confidence in the decision. And I also encourage people to shoot for an odd number. Why odd number? An odd number simply so you don't get stuck at like 50-50. Although if something is that close, you probably don't want to make a decision one way or the other because you won't have a ton of confidence, but it certainly helps, right? Because sometimes you can do these tests for things that aren't super critical. It's so easy to set up these tests. It might not really matter if you pick option A or B. They both might work. But if you're just looking for this quick, hey, there's a lot of people in the office, right? A lot of people working on the project that have opinions. We're stuck. We want to get unstuck. Let's just let, users or random internet users help us decide. That's when using an odd number can really be helpful. Anywho, I happen to get an odd number. Yay. So 13 participants spent an average. I don't believe this is median. So I think one thing to keep in mind is here we've got, I think, better averages. 46 seconds, 36 seconds. I don't know how we got to a minute 26 over there. Something doesn't seem to add up. But anyhow, we've clearly got the proposed design is performing better. I like how Usability Hub even calls it out, right? They say, hey, this design is performing better. The difference is 99% likely to be statistically significant. This means you can be very confident that it's actually better and not performing better due to random chance. Now, this is all true, and it also really, your confidence and your ability to, predict that the preference will spread across a large group really depends on your test too. So it all comes down to the question: which design would you rather use to order a customized burger? So I could have asked, which design do you prefer, right? Which design do you like better? That wouldn't really get at the heart of really what I'm trying to hack in a way, right? I'm trying to get, rather than run a usability study where I create a prototype, I could have spent, a week, right? I don't actually have a week, so I couldn't have spent it, but hypothetically, I could have spent a week building out a complex prototype, an end-to-end prototype, and done usability testing where I give people the task of ordering a very specific burger with this, this ingredient and this one removed and extra of this and, there's a different combination. I could have sent them through the task. I could have measured how quickly they did it, how, satisfied they were with the experience. I didn't have time for that, right? So I'm trying to move very quickly and make decisions. So I had to be smart about what's the question that I'm going to ask people. And by asking this, which design would you rather use to order a customized burger, I'm really trying to get at the heart of which design feels easier to customize things. Because many items are customizable or have options on DoorDash, and I think it's really important. For DoorDash as a company, as much as possible, they should be bringing the order at a restaurant experience to the app so that, things that you want to change or modify or requests that you can do in an easy way. So I guess I feel lucky, right? I mean, it could have gone the other way and people could have said, oh, it's overwhelming, can't deal with this, too much stuff, right? And then I still would have learned something, right? But fortunately, my proposed design seems to be doing better. And also, I asked one optional question just to call out. I make the question, I always ask one question when I do preference test, and I always make it optional. I find that even when I make it optional, because I've kept things really short and sweet, I tend to get a lot of responses. So if you look at all these responses, these are all, I think there's one no answer given. Is that it? So that's pretty impressive. I think I'm super pleasantly surprised that so many people took an extra few seconds to talk about why. And I'll show you a cool thing about Usability Hub. If I just want to see why people picked the winning design, you can click on the filter over here, and then it'll let you see the examples. Less backtracking. So this is interesting. So this this aligns with one of my ideas that by flattening the design, it actually saves time and will feel easier than going back and forth, right? And losing context. You know, out of sight, out of mind can be quite dangerous when you're customizing an order. It's nice, okay, great. The photo was comforting, but mainly because all the options were on one page with drop downs. Interesting. Single form with a button, more clear, has a photo. So some people are liking the photo as well. All the options are on the same page. I don't think I'd see the options in the other one. The visual aspect was more appealing. More so if the image changed with my selection. Ooh, that's interesting. That'd be like a cool feature where you have visual feedback of how you're modifying your order. That would certainly be significantly more complex. It would also be significantly more awesome, right? All the options are laid out. Feel like I wouldn't know. I could customize the burger if they weren't there. Interesting. Image helps a lot. Have all customizations on the same page. So a lot of my assumptions and kind of like gut intuition seem to have some validation through these qualitative feedback comments as well. All right, so that's that. So we've got the designs, we've got the results of our test, and the next step is really to go in and finish this case study that I started. Now, to be fair, I did spend a little bit of time setting up and trying to knock out some of the pieces that maybe are easier or simpler in the interest of time saving, and also that I can review some of them with you. So this is Notion's desktop app. So I have Notion installed locally, and this is the app. And so it should look pretty much like the web version, just like, I don't know, bigger. Anyhow, you'll see that I'm starting with, you know, a descriptive headline. Like, what is this case study all about? This is about improving DoorDash's item customization UX. Cool. So I didn't say DoorDash, right? If I just said DoorDash, you'd be like, DoorDash what? Right? So I talk about like why this project exists. I've got some little meta information here. I just put the date. I put who I am, some links that might be helpful. I stuck a big image. I actually think I'm more and more kind of bullish on using large images and comparing before and after to just quickly get someone engaged and interested. Let me see, how can I'm trying to think of an easy way to hide this image. So just to see, like, what would it look like? What would the experience be if this big image wasn't here? And I'm just going to hide it in this toggle, and you get this. Like, which are you more excited to read? Like, this version, right? Or this version? So I'll get rid of that empty toggle. I took some time to set up the image too, right? I've got like my current call out, my proposed call out. I'm not showing all of the image. I'm using the brand logo to help people understand like what this app is. And if you've seen me talk about images and portfolios before, you'll know that I'm a huge fan of figure captions or using some text to explain why you're showing the image. To me, the image is good. And if you take the opportunity to explain why you're showing it, it's going to be even better, because the question that portfolio case studies are really good at doing, if they're done well, is answering the why questions. So a hiring manager or recruiter is coming in here, they're going to have a ton of like, why? So thinking about that and preemptively answering those why questions can really make a case study into an awesome experience. So here I just talked about, right, to improve the user experience for customizing an item with the DoorDash app, I designed, tested, and proposed a number of changes, including consolidating multiple screens into a single screen. So I kind of talk about like, what's the big deal that I'm showing here? I see, they're consolidating multiple screens into a single screen. Aha. Great. These sections are really just because I've made this thing public so people can copy it, right, for this contest. These are kind of like working, I don't know, these are just like little helpful things. Right now we're in week 3. We've got links to the other YouTube things. These are pieces that I would remove. In fact, maybe I'll just color the background gray just to help push these back visually. These are things that I would remove from an actual case study if I'm going to publish it. All right. Another thing I did with Notion is Notion makes it really easy to set up columns. So to help split up my guidance and my actual content, I created this little build checklist. So my idea is that this is going to remind me what are the kinds of things I should talk about, and sometimes I'll have some assets here. And this is like my build checklist. And then over on the left is where I'm actually doing the final, like polished content. So I start off with a quick intro. I think a TLDR summary like this is super helpful. It shows that you're thoughtful of people's time and attention and exercises your ability to summarize things, which is actually a lot harder than it might look. So in this case, I'll just read my little TLDR intro. In this self-initiated project for DoorDash, I discovered and prioritized usability issues with the app's item customization experience before designing, testing, and proposing improvements to reduce confusion, frustration, and to save customers time. Boom. It's a super long-winded sentence, but if you take it slowly, I'm hoping that it serves as a decent summary of this project. Next, I have a context section where I talk a little bit about why DoorDash. By the way, I think this thing is public, so I should share the link with you in chat in case you want to explore on your own. And it'll be fun because if you do join this doc, you'll see little people like bouncing around. We'll see if it gets distracting or not. So why DoorDash? I didn't actually introduce this contest thing yet, so let me make a comment. Do you want to introduce the contest? Basically just say that, hey, I started with looking at like several candidate apps. Why does this say, oh, I got it. I've got links to like some of the top food delivery apps in the United States. Wherever you are in the world, Singapore, London, all those great places, you may have, a different set of apps. And I just talk about why I chose the one I did, right? I chose it for 2 reasons. One, I try to highlight and make it scannable too. 2 reasons. Familiar is faster. Boom. Even if you don't keep reading, cool. You've got that, hey, he chose it because he's trying to move fast. What's familiar is fast. Got it. Market share increases impact. Okay, that sounds good. That seems like a reasonable criteria to consider when you're picking things, right? And then I go to include like evidence. I'm using toggles quite heavily. I think people have mixed opinions on toggles. For me, like live streaming this, toggles are really helpful because it lets me like remove the noise and clutter and help us focus on one thing at a time. So I'll probably continue to use the toggles for this doc. I include some evidence. So whenever you say something like DoorDash was the largest US food delivery app at the time of this project, it's great to show. It's great to tell. It's even better to show or like prove it. So I think another important thing to remember about case studies or communicating about things is that unless you already have established authority and credibility with your audience, which probably you haven't, right? If this is a case study in your portfolio, people that you don't even know are looking at this. Hiring managers, recruiters, potential colleagues, right? All those kinds of folks are looking at it. So I think it's really important to when you have the opportunity to leverage other sources for credibility and authority, go ahead and lean on them. Like, I just included this little market share evidence. There's this article that Forbes put out only a few days ago that talked about this study that showed that DoorDash had 40% share of the market that they measured, right? Which was almost 200,000 transactions. So cool. This person also like uses data, right? And information to make decisions. Great. Like, check that box. I also created this who, what, when, why, and how section. This is like my new favorite thing in Notion, is creating little headings and giving it little colored bars to add some visual thing. And then you'll also notice that I'm a huge fan of emoji. I think it makes documents more fun and visually interesting to read. So I basically got the who, the what, like what this thing was. This was a self-initiated project. This is maybe where I could introduce the contest as well. And maybe this goes before Why DoorDash? I don't know. The great thing about Notion, like, as opposed to if I was doing this in Google Docs or like Word or something, it wouldn't be that easy to move this stuff around, right? It's super easy. By the way, getting columns inside a toggle takes a bit of a hack. And if you're interested in seeing that, let me know, and I'll do a little demo of that to show you how I got these columns inside the toggle. Because you cannot make a toggle and then make columns inside. You have to do this kind of tricky workaround, which is easy, but I had to go searching to find it. When I just talk about when it happened and like how much time I spent. Why? I think it's great to start with customer experience, right? At the heart of it, like that's what the goal is, to improve a user or customer experience. Here I have I guess here's where I say where the contest is. It's an example entry. I also talk about exercising my skills, so like personal development and growth, which is something that I think high performing teams look for and expect in team members. And I've got all these things kind of checked out. I like the strike through or these kind of checks because you can still read it. Like, even though it has a strike through, I can still read this as identifying usability issues. Great. Tools, I added in the how section. Like, how isn't necessarily process. It's more about tools. So I just added 3 of the tools that I used and kind of my pitch of them. That's my who, what, when, why, and how section. Next, a super important section that I don't know, probably 80-90% of case studies that I see in portfolios are missing some sort of clear goals and success metrics. So I broke this down into, again, 2 columns, goals and success metrics. Goals I put are to reduce customer confusion, frustration, and complaints around customizing items when they're ordering with DoorDash. Increase customer speed, confidence, and satisfaction when customizing items. And another goal was I wanted to show the power of applying a working backwards strategy, which you can see more of in the first week's stream of this contest on my YouTube channel, and also time boxing. So because I time boxed, it was neatly time boxed to the stream, and then there were a couple other time boxes that I did on the weekend. Really helped me do this whole project, except for creating this case study in under 8 hours. And success metrics, these are things that I didn't necessarily measure. You notice I call some things out, but I did measure design test participants' preference. So I got this kind of preference metric from Usability Hub. That's what I showed earlier. So I did do that. I also talked about success metrics that I think are probably important, but just weren't in the scope. Because of the time constraints I had, they weren't in scope. But these are things that if we want to do, all we need to do is invest some more time to do it. And that's time on task for customizing a food item, because if my proposed design changes are stronger, then it should mean that people can customize their food item faster than the current design. Also, confidence and satisfaction scores. So how confident are people using my proposed design versus the current design, that they've customized things exactly the way they want, and how satisfied were they with the experience? Those are other things that we can measure. And last but not least, the number of hours that I spent. So keeping track of my time helped me keep it under 8 hours, and was something for me that was important to demonstrate. Because one of the things I also want to communicate is that participating in the UX design contest isn't this huge big thing. Like, time boxing a few hours, you can come up with a pretty awesome contest entry that can help you win. Okay. Hydrate before this next section. All right, this next section is really like all the stuff that isn't filled out. So this is where it's time to get down and get to work. I'm just calling it Project Walkthrough. If anyone else has any other ideas for the name, kind of context, and then I just have Project Walkthrough. That's like, those are my 2 sections. And then I just have it split down in these subsections. Or if you see any heading that you think is confusing, please let me know. Like, I'm open to iterating and trying things out on the fly. So please don't hesitate to share any suggestions you have or any questions that you have. Alrighty. Actually, as a segue, maybe I'll do the how do you get columns inside a toggle, and I'll just show you an example. Like, can I add columns? I'll show you how this works. So you can create content, column 1, column 2. I guess I should show this how this normally works. Outside. Cool. Okay. Normally how this works, when you're just dealing with blocks outside of a toggle, you go all the way to the end of the column, and then you'll see this little indicator, and voila, I've made 2 columns. So that's how it normally works. And you can do cool things like resizing the columns to space it. You can add more columns, right? You just, again, do the same thing. Go down, find the end, and add it in. Okay, that's how it works normally. But watch this. Inside a toggle, there's no edge of the column. You can't create another column using the same method. Huh, that stinks. Well, how did you do this? Well, let me show you. I'm going to turn this into a page. Now I've got this page. Can I add columns? I've got my 2 columns. In this page, aha, I can create columns. I'll give this some fancy color. Now I've got columns. Now if I go back, but wait, now it's still this page. Aha, but look at this. I turned from a toggle into a page. Now I can turn from a page back into a toggle. Awesome, huh? So there's my Notion pro tip of the night. Getting columns in toggles. All right, project walkthrough. So identifying usability issues. This is what I did, I don't know, the first week or second week of this series. I've got a raw list right here of just things that I just went through and started looking at all kinds of stuff. So this is a little distracting. It's not like, it's just kind of stream of consciousness writing. It's not necessarily organized to be read, but guess what? It doesn't hurt, right? So let's just let's move this over. And let's talk a little bit about my process. To start identifying usability issues as quickly as I could, I went to DoorDash.com. I went to DoorDash's website and started going through the flow of ordering from a restaurant for dinner. Boom. Raw list of issues. So then I have this raw list of issues. I don't know how many are there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 70, 80, 90, 20. There's more than 20. And I don't know how long I spent on it. I'm gonna call it 30 minutes. And around I really don't. I should have. I'll have to go back and look at the video. I think it was less than 30 minutes. Less than 30 minutes. I had a rough list of more than 20 issues. I observed. Experienced. Okay. Here's the raw list of issues. Great. Now I have this list of issues. I saw that quite a few of my issues were associated with my experience of customizing an item. And I'll just pull those out here. Let's just kind of show that. So I think I can actually do this. Duplicate it, and then I'll pull it outside of the toggle. Actually don't need this top one, do I? But I would like to put these under this. There we go. Great. I think because these are notes that I'm writing, I think I'm going to make them italic and italicize them. Partly because I don't think it's that important for people to read them. So I'm making it a little bit more challenging to read. Double modal. Yeah. Missing ingredients list, missing control of ingredients, awkward. I guess it's not really funny. It was an awkward question. Awkward. way of presenting with or without cheese option. I'll polish these up a little bit. Most customization options are hidden. Okay. Yeah, nearly all. Almost all customization options are hidden. Multiple modals. This kind of double modal thing is really about diving into the modal. So to dive in and out, I'm gonna combine this idea into this other one and just try to think about a little bit easier way to communicate that. So customizing required diving deeper into new modal screens and back out, losing all context of my changes and slowing me down. There we go. All right. So there's identifying usability issues. Then I have these tables. Where are my tables? Here are my tables. So I had these tables to prioritize usability issues. So next I identified some of the, what do I call these? These are just issues. Next, I put some of the issues into a table to help me organize and categorize them. Okay, and then I can have that table here. So I'll actually just, whoops, I don't want the drop down. I just want this table to come over here. Now I've got this table. Just do some organization. I think I don't know why the table indents like that. I don't think there's any way to get it over. I think that's as far as it goes. Getting hung up on it a little bit. Okay. Then I created a view, a filtered view, to help me identify the issues with highest estimated impact and cost, and lowest estimated cost, I guess. So I'm going to show that here. I don't really actually have to talk about the cost, I suppose. I'll show these tables a little bit more just so you can kind of see them. Let me give it some more space. So you can see I listed issues like customization inefficiencies, missing photos, ingredients aren't listed in context, homepage isn't optimized for fast ordering, searching for a restaurant that's not in the system kind of led to a mediocre experience. I categorize these by type. I talked about what types of problems were involved with these issues. And then I gave it a rating on the estimated impact. Like if these things were improved, like if they were fixed, right? If problems were fixed, what would the customer impact be and what would the business impact be? So see, I gave it that rating. Also, based on my knowledge of having worked with engineers for many years on building products, I just used my kind of gut to estimate the cost of fixing these problems. Other potential things I think could be interesting as you're logging these are like locations, right? So if you have a link so that you can go see the issue, or if you have a screenshot or screencast, a little video, those would also be cool to add. I didn't do that for time to stick to my time box, but that would be a cool thing to do. Then I've got this filtered view, which Notion lets you do really easily. And I've got two high impact things. Ingredients aren't listed in context, and food item customization inefficiencies with estimated costs of low to medium. So that's kind of the area that I picked. Yes? I'm trying to add one more text block. There we go. I'll add a light bulb. I don't know if I have this shortcut. No, I don't. Maybe I have this. Nope. All right. Let's pull up light bulb. I may even do a call out to draw some attention. So Notion has this call out, and maybe this is where I'll do light bulb. Here it is. Nice. It looks like tackling issues around customizing food items will be a good place to start. Cool. Next, top issue, item customization UX. So here's where I really could go through and call out the issues, right? And I wanted to start with, I have this little animation here from Black Panther. Can I zoom? Trying to zoom. I can zoom the text, but I can't zoom. Anyways, it's this part where I think this is her Black Panther's sister, and she says, "How many times do I have to teach you? Just because something works doesn't mean that it can't be improved." So I think that's like one of the first things I want to start with. Is it's like, it's not the fact that it's, you know, that customizing an item in DoorDash is broken. Like, that's not true. Hey Raj, how's it going? Good to see you. I hope you're doing well. It's not that DoorDash's item customization is broken. It's just that it can be improved, right? DoorDash customers can customize items. It works. However, I believe with some design changes, it can be significantly improved. DoorDash item customization works. All right. Let's start getting into some of the ways that it doesn't work so well. And for that, I think I'm gonna go over to Sketch and start grabbing some images. So in Sketch, I had like you can see like my messy place, like exploring things and coming up with ideas, finally getting down to this like proposal design. And then I also made 2 pages for solutions and issues, where I wanted to take a stab at using imagery, because I think, again, imagery is a really powerful way to show rather than tell. I want to try to minimize the amount of words in this case study and reduce reading. So I've got a bunch of issues here. Like I've got inconsistency with section headings. I've got, what's this? Just awkward, really awkward question. Would you like cheese on your charburger? Answer charburger or charburger with cheese. Like if this was a person asking this question in a restaurant, the expected response would be yes or no, or what kind of cheese, right? Those would be expected responses. Single radio option. Again, if you have a single radio option, that should be a clue that there's something wrong with the UI, right? You don't have anything to change it to, so it's like your option is French fries or French fries. So it doesn't make sense, just kind of awkward stuff. At the bottom, just kind of, what did I call this as? Tiny hit target. So these icons, right, are fairly small. I mean, not really any smaller than the radio buttons, to be fair. But they also include like symbols inside circles. So they also create this like circular shape, which makes them seem maybe more similar than others. And so I had some ideas on kind of improving that. This is all about like needing to go deeper, right? We see all these little angles that say like, hey, dive into this to pick it, right? Dive in. And then what's this? Oh, this is about the language, right? You have all this repeated language. Add, 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 add. Sub, 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 sub. If you're repeating some text that much, there's nearly always an opportunity to remove it or rethink that. So that's what I did for this. This awkward thing of like, let's make 2 sections. Let's have things you can add, but we'll call it add-ons. And then we'll call this other thing removable. I mean, like opposite, like yes, no, up, down. This, you know, by that rule, it should be like addable, removable, add, maybe just add and remove, right? Would even be better than this language. But that doesn't also get around the fact that there's 2 sections when there probably really doesn't need to be. And you've got like this long line of stuff. Things are not alphabetically sorted, so there's a whole bunch of things. So I think let's call these things out real quick as some of the things that we're thinking about. And I would love people's feedback if they think, what's better? Is it better to like crop it and keep it really targeted towards the element, or to provide the whole thing in context? I have a feeling that this is going to be better, but I don't know. I'm curious to get other people's fresh eyes feedback. So let's start plugging both of them in. I'm gonna copy this, and I think I might actually need like a current design. So let's get heading here. Current design. A video would be even better. So one thing that I'm going to recommend for folks is that as you're creating a case study, think about ways you can use video to show even more than a static image for things that it really makes sense, right? If you're doing some sort of interaction, like video is going to be 10x better than a static image. All right, and then I'll get down to here. So that's the current design. And then I have these, right, issues. So here's this big image. Yeah, as soon as I put this in here, I already start feeling like, yeah, this is not great. I'm wondering if I'll use toggles. Awkward question and response pattern. Manaka says, provide a few in context, like the long list, and some that are cropped if it starts looking competitive. Interesting. Okay. Ooh, the long list. Yeah. I think that makes sense. I think that's actually a fantastic, and it's one of those things like as soon as you hear it, you're like, oh yeah, that makes perfect sense. I'm already like highlighting these little areas. Like the size of the highlight probably suggests like how much space is needed, right? Because I'm really trying to focus attention here. So you probably don't need a lot more than what I'm highlighting. So I think that's great. I think like, right, this list, for example, you definitely want the whole thing and not just cut it. Even things like this or this, right? Yeah, that's smart. I like it. All right, so for this one is cropped. So before I do that, I'm going to add the other image though. So this is the current design. I'm going to add this. I'm trying to think, is there a better layout for the kind of format of the Notion doc? I'm wondering if I take these two and kind of move them over here, this probably gets me a little bit better. Yeah, I probably avoid the crazy sizing issues. And I just need to remember, what's my spacing here? 32. Okay. So I'm going to add 32 and 32. Okay, great. Head back to my Notion doc. I'll just fill this in here. Current design. And again, here's an opportunity to use a caption, and Notion has the caption tool built in. So the current design, or maybe I'll put like, the current design works, but sure could be a lot better. For example, I'm not going to do for example. I'll talk about it as I go down. And then maybe I don't even need this. Okay, and then I've got this issue, and this is where I'm going to jump down to my issues page. I'm going to grab this one. And we're going to put it inside the toggle. And the great thing about this, I don't even have to write anything pretty much other than captions, right? So I've got this image, I can add the caption. I'll say, expected answer to a would you like question is yes or no, not Charburger. Maybe I'll put a winky face to show that, or an upside down smiley face. I'll go winky face. There we go. All right. Let's keep going. So what's next? Maybe I'll start copying some of these images over. And then copy the issues over, and then I'll put them into buckets so I don't have to keep swapping back and forth. Okay, there's one. Here's another one that's going to be a good one to crop. Boom. And then I didn't get this one yet. Nice. Okay. Getting all these in. Probably not going to go through all of these. Oh, let's see. Now I'm getting into places where I don't have them in their own artboards. So let me fix that. Oh no. Okay. Group these. Great. All right. Now let's get this into its own artboard. I really just want to duplicate one of these other artboards and make it into a template. Okay. Copy. Paste. Nice. This one looks like it's the same size. Paste that in. Keep it going. Oops, this one didn't get that group together. There we go. I think I got it. Gonna make all my images look a little nicer. So this is like the time to spend, go back and like come up with your like elegant, fancy highlighting patterns. Make sure all your images are looking good. Down to the top. Great. All right, so I've got all these as well. So putting these in. And because I've gone over this pattern of what I'm doing, I'm probably gonna skip ahead because I've got about 30 minutes left and I really wanna go through the process of going through all of it. I don't think I need to do, you know, all of these writing little captions to communicate the point of, hey, I'm using images to make points. And cool. So I've got all these things and probably I'll just put one per toggle. Toggle. Got a bunch of toggles. And now I'm gonna have a bunch of images. It's up to you. Like I'm using the toggles quite heavily just because it's helping me for streaming this. You may find that, you know, it's more effective to have these sitting outside so that anyone can always see them. I think that definitely deserves some testing and sharing with other folks. Okay, so then the ideas for improvement, I mean, that's really the same kind of task, right? For the solution, I guess this was one that doesn't match up with an issue. I think ideally you match up like issues. I'm trying to see, did I call out? Okay, I've got the drop downs. I've got the combining of the add and remove. Got this thing. So I've definitely got some things to say, but I also see some gaps, right? And not necessarily having the solution issue that matches exactly, often because it's kind of wrapped up in different things. But let me just copy all these. Copy, paste. I'll just do a little bit of the hard work here. I mean, it's not hard work. A little bit of the, let's see, let's just figure out a good height for this. 500, yeah. Works for me. 500, that one's gonna be long. Let's do 1300. Nope, let's do 1324. Nice. So this one. Okay, 500. I'm trying to, as much as possible, like I'm trying to cut things in half. So it kind of shows that, hey, I'm cutting this out from something else. And this last one. Nice. Guess I didn't achieve that with this last one, but oh well. So then I would go back and do the same thing, right, with my ideas for improvement. Again, have a toggle and be able to talk about an issue there. So that's the next process, just like copying these images over and then giving them a name, right, titling them. And then if you want to talk about some stuff, maybe it's just using a caption like this. Maybe it's, you know, adding, if you were doing some testing, maybe it would be adding like a quote from someone. So then I've got the ideas for improvement. Then it's the design testing. So this is when I want to talk about the Usability Hub Test that I did. So in advance of writing about that, which I'm trying to avoid because writing is hard, let me get, what is this export at? Export as CSV? No. What does the share look like? I can share results, so I can actually have a link. That's good. So I can copy this link. And then what does this look like exactly? It's basically just this. One thing that's kind of cool, you notice I got a fairly international response, right? You know, good portion from US, but we've got Europe, South America, Europe, Asia, North America, North American neighbors. So that's pretty cool. That's something that I could talk about. And actually, why don't I grab, so I've got this link, and then there's basically like screenshots that we can take. I think these are the only things. This is the only demographic info I have about people. So let's take some images here. I'm using Snagit, which is my favorite screencast tool, which lets me zoom in and get like my pixel perfect screenshots. Oh, you know what? I see something. I see there are rounded corners here. Let me see if I can zoom in. There are rounded corners here, which are not nice for screenshots. So I'm actually going to hack this. I'll open up DevTools and I'll just set the border radius. Let me make sure I have the thing. It's probably this. I'll turn this off. Nice. And then I can take a nice screenshot of that. I can also grab this one. This section, border radius. Now I'm going to be able to take super clean screenshots because I can go right up to the edge of the corner. Boom. Can do that here now too. And then for these, I'm trying to think of the best way to do these answers. I think these answers I'll probably put in actual text. Maybe I'll use like the quote. I'll just show the Notion quote feature. All right, so back to Notion. I'm going to paste in some of these screenshots that I took. Okay. So one of them is about participants. Oh, and by the way, in Notion, you can resize. So see this image, which it's fairly large, so it's looking kind of pixelated and low resolution. You can resize the image in Notion. It's a little tricky to get it looking a bit sharper, right? And then this. Cool, so I think those are the only images I want from the test. And let's add some context. Basically, I wanted to get confidence that my proposal was worth proposing. That's really what I was trying to validate. To get quick validation, or to test for, right? I don't know if I'm actually going to get it. To test for a quick validation of my proposed design, I ran a preference test on Usability Hub. This is something that I would link to. Usabilityhub.com. Link. Again, one of the easiest ways to make case studies even more awesome are linking to things. Like if you've used a tool or you've used a pattern or you found a great tip in an article, like including those links just makes your case study even more valuable. Okay. Oh, I should link, so a few things. I'm gonna link to the test. And then I tweeted out, I shared the link on Twitter. I shared the test link on Twitter and invited people to participate. In total, 112. Yeah, I wish it was 112. No, you don't need 112. In total, 13 people from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 countries. From 8 countries responded or participated in my test. Took the test. Short. Took the test. I wonder if there's a way to crop in Notion. No, double clicking zooms in on it. I think I'm going to crop this. I don't think I need to share and export, and all this white space doesn't really do anything for it. So I think I'm going to open the editor and crop. Crop. Going to create some visual balance. That looks pretty good. That looks reasonably balanced. Does the screen, at this point though, I'm also thinking, does a screenshot really, like, is this important that it's a screenshot, or can I just say it? I think maybe I can just say it. "13 people from 8 countries." And you can also use color in Notion, so you can do something like blue if you want things to stand out even more. I mean, really what I'm going for is validation, so I'm just going to say it. For quick validation, I ran a preference test. Here's a link to the test. I think I can grab that pretty quickly. Link to the test. I can just call this test link as well. I don't need to say link to test. Test link. I shared the test, blah, blah, blah. Cool. Keep my sentences down. Short and sweet. I don't need that. I don't need that. I can include a toggle if you want to hide something. Participant countries. Participant locations, maybe I call it. Great. Results. I'm going to add a heading. Why test my design? I ran a preference on Usability Hub. I ran a preference test comparing my design versus the current design. Okay, locations, great, now I've got Y test. And then the results. Participants said they'd rather use my design to order a customized burger 77% of the time. No, that's not what they said. 10 out of 13. Let's just say that. I want to say things that are true. 10 out of 13 participants. This is one thing. Like, I notice when people have, sometimes people have real small sample sizes, and they'll say things like 77% of participants said they do this, and it's like, how many people is that? They're like 5 or 3, right? 66% of people preferred this. How many people did you get feedback from? 3. It's like, If you're working with small number of participants, there's nothing wrong with that. You can see that even with a small sample size as low as 13, you can see that it's very likely to be statistically significant. You can achieve that kind of statistical strength and confidence. But when you are using small numbers, small sample sizes, it's almost always better to just call it the number of people. If it's 4 out of 5, say 4 out of 5, right? Don't use the percentage. I often feel like people are using percentages to try to hide things, which is not only disingenuous, but it also, raises a question. Is this person like using good judgment in making their decisions, right? I say one tricky thing about Notion is I can't seem to figure out how to add a new block after an image. I end up going like before it and dragging it down. So if anyone knows an easy way to add an image immediately after, add a block immediately after an image, let me know. All right, we've only got 10 minutes left. I better hurry up here. Oh, I've got results. Actually, I see that. Design testing. I have results here. Yeah, okay. Let's just move this. Let's move these things here. And I don't need this. Cool. Test results. Why did they say that? Here are some of the reasons why participants chose or preferred my design, my proposed design. And let's grab a couple really quick. I wonder if I can, oh nice, I can select like this. Ah, I love it. Look at that. And then I can create a bulleted list. Whoops, why did it turn to numbers? That's interesting. Oh, actually, let's see. If I select all of these individually and turn them to quotes, will it turn it into one big quote or multiple quotes? Nice. So now I have these as quotes. I can probably do something like, I don't know, does it make sense? Is it better with or without quotation marks? I don't think I need it necessarily. I wonder if I add, maybe I'll add a color behind these quotes just to highlight. Maybe I'll do like some zebra striping. Or I can call things out that I think are really important. Maybe I'll use green. I'll call out like some of the ones I think are really strong. Visual. I guess I'm ending up doing like all of them, which maybe goes besides the point, right? Maybe what I can do is associate them. Maybe I can create like a legend, like navigation improvement. Single page, right? I could do something like color coding that would show like, hey. So maybe putting these into different buckets. Anyways, there's a bunch of stuff I can do. The the takeaway here is just that it can be helpful to include both this quantitative measure and also some of the qualitative stuff. And these would also be good for a toggle. Open-ended feedback. Grab all these. Poof. Put them in there. All right. Oh man, only 5 minutes left. We're going to do this. We're going to do this. Obviously, there's some polish left, but hopefully I've communicated my strategy and tactic of thinking. So recommendation for DoorDash is really to implement the design. I mean, it's really to like do some additional testing. My recommendations for DoorDash are to consider implementing or testing the following changes around item customization. And then I'll do like a numbered list. Limit items, limit to one page. Limit experience to a single screen. Add an image of the item if it's available. If it's available, add an image of the item. Display default ingredients as selected checkbox. Limit selection experience to one screen. Yep, Manaka came up with the same. Great minds think alike, right? Validated. I think it works. Oh, there's another one about the height of the screen. Replace sticky footer with scrollable modal. With scrolling modal. And actually, Bootstrap link. There's a pattern on Bootstrap that shows this long content scrolling modal. I think it would be a good link to here. Remove redundant text like add sub. What was the other one? Maybe just add or sub, huh? It's basically like going through the design ideas and saying like, make these changes, right? Just like, what do you do? So this is like, do this. So that'd basically be my list of recommendations. I probably have some more. I'd have to go back again and look at those design ideas for improvement, right? I think I have some, oh yeah, like even moving the close to the right-hand side, right? That's a little thing. Talking about what it includes when it's a meal, like calling it specific. So there's definitely some more things there to do, but you get the sense. All right, I've got 1 minute left. Then lessons learned. This is where I have two sections. What went well? Recommendations, oops, for the future. And what didn't go so well. Ideas for next time. All right, and I'm just gonna I think I'll number these as well rather than bullets, just in case someone wants to refer to it. So what went well? I think what really went well was starting from working backwards, or I'll just say what went well was the working backwards strategy. Working backwards strategy helped me list out all the major steps I needed to do and helped me scope the project work. Well, time boxing. Setting time boxes to work on different steps allowed me to work to accomplish a lot in a shorter amount of time, and also helped me stay focused. Okay, these can be polished up. I'm writing quickly. I'm a little bit over time. I got to wrap this up really quick. What didn't go so well? I think if I have to pick one thing that I think didn't go so well, would be it took me a while and some iterations to come up with this framework for the case study. So yep, I'll be done in just a minute. Not having a pre-existing template for the case study slowed me down a little bit. Next time I'll reuse this template and iterate based on feedback from reviewers. Boom. Okay, I think that's it. I think we can call this a wrap up and success. Yes, there's a little bit of cleanup work to do. I hope this was helpful. I mean, I know it's helpful for me just to like exercise and go through this process. Like writing case studies about the work I do is not a normal part of my product design work. Like once I've got something out and done, like I'm already working on the next project. And so getting some exercise and practice doing this, I think is a really good thing just to even help you like process and digest what you accomplished and what you achieved, and practicing the super valuable skill of being able to document and communicate what you did, why you did it, and the impact it had to others, right? So I think this kind of case study that's really focused like this is probably a good way to really show people that like you're serious and you're a professional when it comes to doing these kinds of things. So thank you everyone for tuning in. Manaka and Gary and Khan and OTP and Yalda and Raj and anyone else who is tuning in. Appreciate you being here and sharing your thoughts and questions, whether you're off to bed or just starting your day or time to eat. Have a fantastic rest of the day, weekend. Next week, TBD time, I'll be announcing the contest winners. So again, if you haven't got your entry in, they are due Sunday, 11:59 p.m. Pacific time. So you've still got time to get them in there. Hey, Himani, I see you. Still have time to get them in there. Can't wait to see your entries. Looking forward to it. So until then, be safe, stay healthy, and happy designing. Bye, everyone.